morning. We are on chapter 19, Faith That Moves Mountains. A very interesting faith chapter. The last month we discussed a bit about the word faith, the way that has been translated from, for us, of course, from the Hebrew, from the original scriptures, and from the Aramaic, and then to the Greek, because of the gospel was being written originally in Greek, and then broke down in many languages, English, French, whatever. So we'd expect that some deviations of the words could happen, and that's one the wonderful work being done these days is individuals trying to make more homogeneous the interpretation or the translation of the Gospels to make it more fidel, more to the original, to the true words of Christ. It's a wonderful work that you should really recognize and honor those who's taken that hardship to do it for us. But the word faith, as we had been seeing so far, and I think it's worth to repeat it, from the really original, have more of a meaning of fidelity than with really belief. It also carries the meaning of belief, but you cannot have fidelity to something that you don't believe. So first you need to believe, but you need to go a step over. And most of the time when Jesus used the word faith, he refers more with fidelity, with God, with God's laws. And the topic I start reading today, religious faith and the state of unshakable faith, deals very much with the differentiation of a faith that's basically a belief, but it's weak in itself. Because I believe today, tomorrow I can stop believing. But if I know today, tomorrow I still know. Once you truly understand and know something, we truly understand and you know, and you cannot unknow something. I never heard someone that unknown something. Even forgetfulness is debated that did you really learn it, or you just kind of memorize for a minute to take a test, so to say, and then you never care about this anymore, you never practice anymore, and then you lost it. Because when you know, you don't forget anymore. So let's see what they said over here, religious faith and the state of unshakable faith. Who's doing the reading?
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Religious faith, the state of unshakable faith. Number 6. From the religious point of view, faith is the belief in the particular dogmas that comprise the different religions. All religions have their articles of faith. From this aspect, faith may be either rational or blind. Blind faith examines nothing, accepts both the false as well as the true without verification, and clashes at every step with evidence and reason. Taken to the extreme, it produces fanaticism. Whenever faith rests upon error, it collapses sooner or later. Faith that is based on the truth is the only kind assured of the future, because it has nothing to fear from the progress of enlightenment, since whatever is true in obscurity is also true in full light. Every religion claims to be in exclusive possession of the truth. However, to profess blind faith on a point of belief is to confess one's inability to demonstrate that one is right.
Thanks. That's a very short reading, but I think there's a lot in it here. All religions have their articles of faith. Spiritism is not a religion in itself, but even Spiritism has its articles of faith. Or I would say the whole Spiritism is an article of faith in itself. Politics has its articles of faith. You have to believe that the platform of this or that political group, this or that party, that platform, you have faith, you believe that is the one that carries the best platform for the country or for the city or for the state, whatever. So you have to have a degree of faith in the sense of believing in it, and a faith of based on understanding it. For us to make options, for us to decide which directions to walk. When you want to go, we wanted to go from point A to point B, and we use our Google notes, and what's the best route to go? I don't know, from my home to the next town, and there is 3-4 different routes. You may have faith that Google will lead you to the best route, or you may have faith that even though Google tells that this one is the best one, but you haven't used all 4 of them, and you understand those very well, and you know that if you take a route that is different from what Google is telling you, you will get there safer, faster, whatever. So you have a faith, you have a belief. And that is based on your understand. You have a blind faith on Google, because Google is always right, and what you know means nothing. You may get it wrong sometimes, you may get it right other times, but you make the decisions based on something. It may be using reason. Oh, I know all those rights. I know that at this time, this route is not the best, even though Google says it is, because I have used all of them. Reasoning. Or Google's telling me to do this one. Oh, I always get in trouble when I do this one, but Google's telling me I have to do what Google's telling me. Right? Blind faith. I'm not saying anything about Google. I think Google is good, okay? I use it a lot. But it's just an example. Now, most religions, unfortunately, have created dogmas. And dogmas by itself declare blind faith. Because the definition of dogma, if we go to the dictionary, is uncontestable, unquestionable, a statement or law made by a higher authority. Okay, so if we believe, again, just an example, please, that the Vatican creates a dogma, whatever the dogma may be, and you are a faithful of the Catholic Church, you follow that dogma without questioning, without putting it through reason. Just because it came from the Vatican, you must follow it regardless. Amongst the Judaism, and again, just stating facts, they believe that all the commandments comes directly from God. How can you argue with something that comes directly from God? If God tells you that you cannot put cheese on your hamburger, are you going to argue? Are you going to defy? But can we question why is that? Can we question what's happened if I do it and if I don't? Can I try to see what happens? In blind faith, no, you can't. You just have to follow it. You can not even contest, cannot even question it because it's a dogma. By definition, we cannot. Now, there is the other side of faith, which is a faith based on reason. Now, reason is a little bit of hard work. It's not a free ride. To follow a dogma is easy. I don't have to think. I just have to accept and do it. It's easier in general, of course. And at the time that it becomes hard, in general, again, it becomes hard because now it's clashing with reason. It's 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 clashing with your ability and desire to understand the things better. Then it becomes hard. It's not hard by itself. It's hard because now reasoning, intelligence is interfering with the blindness of that faith because now you have some light and you can't obscure the light. You can't hide the light. And reason suggests that you're going to question, they're going to doubt, they're going to explore, but more important, they're going to conclude. You're going to find a conclusion. If you work truthfully on it, of course. And once you reach that conclusion, then you're done. You have that knowledge that's you're gonna have with you forever. So blind faith clashes at every step with evidence of reason. And more important, taken to extreme, it produces fanaticism. Once you become a fanatic, then it game's over. Then darkness won over light, at least temporarily. Of course, you're all going to progress. And I don't care the fanaticism towards anything, okay? Towards a religion, towards a political party, towards a person, towards a sport team that you like so much. Once you become a fanatic, you have lost the ability to reason properly. And unfortunately, dogmas leads to fanaticism for those who are not strong enough to impose the light over the darkness, to have the courage to question. Now, faith that's based on truth is the only kind assured of the future because it has nothing to fear from the progress of enlightenment. But truth is also not a free thing, right? Truth is something that you need to, again, to question, to doubt, to experience, and then to conclude. Because if someone comes and say, Spiritism brings you the truth, and you just accept it without questioning, without having any doubts, without having experiment, you are just practicing blind faith. And what I'm saying here, the blind faith is not as much as a statement of an institution, but it's very individual. I choose to believe in spiritualism regardless what it says. Regardless what my mind comes about, I'll follow it just because it comes from spiritualism. Blind faith. And that's why Kardec suggests to us and asks us to use reason. If whatever is written in any one of his books does not make sense to us, it's not reasonable to us, we have questions, we have doubts, to say, please, do not take it, do not accept it, but do not discard completely, put it aside. Work on it, come back to it, because the truth will prevail. And that's why Kardec says that you better off reject 10 truth than accept one lie. Because again, once you work on truth, it will prevail and will prevail always. And that's why Chico Xavier, when questioned why he did not defend himself of everything that people say about him, his answer was, if what they're saying is the truth, nothing can do with the truth. There is no word that I can say. If what they're saying, it's not the truth, it's a lie, I don't have time to waste with lies. And faith based on reason leads us to truth. And when you reach that truth, we have that self-confidence, that self-assurance of a Chico Xavier. And that's why Christ said, know the truth, and the truth will liberate you, will free you. I think that is on it. Any questions, any comments?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most important parts of the gospel for us to challenge ourselves, to understand what goes around, right? And especially nowadays, with what is going around in the world, we see a lot of fanaticism, like I almost said, for different things, not only for the religion, but for other aspects of politics, of life, and the challenge that Spiritism brings to us to reason, to question, to look for answers. It's something invaluable. It's something extremely important, right? We have to use the teachings that Spiritism brings to us to challenge ourselves, to look for what makes sense to us, what we are comfortable with. Like I almost said, to really build on solid foundations, right? To have faith in what we, what like Spiritism says, unshakable faith, that nothing will change. So we talk about reincarnation, right? It becomes no longer a belief for those that truly study Spiritism and understand in Spiritism, but a knowledge. I don't believe in reincarnation. I know that reincarnation exists. Like I say, you don't say I don't believe in the sun. You know the sun exists. You know the sun shines. If you say I believe in the sun, means that there are those that do not believe in the sun. Now, of course, we are going to continue saying I believe in reincarnation because it's easier. When you talk about I know reincarnation, it becomes a little more complex and a little more difficult to discuss. But for us Spiritists that really understand the concept, that really understand and have acquired enough knowledge, it's moving from a belief to a knowledge, right? The faith becomes an article of faith becomes a knowledge and an understanding and an acceptance that nothing is going to change. People can come to me with all the arguments against reincarnation. It's not going to change, to make me change, because for me it's something already established. It's like, again, going back, it's trying to convince me that the sun does not exist. You won't be able to do it. So what Spiritism brings to us is really knowledge and challenges for us to look for the knowledge. Now, when you are discussing things like God, for instance, do you believe in God? I believe in God. But you have to have the basis. Spiritism brings the basis, the reason behind it, right? But it makes you understand why some people without all the knowledge have trouble believing in God. And again, if I didn't understand the concept of reincarnation, of eternal life, of cause and effect, of law of progress, if I had nothing of this knowledge, I would have a very hard time believing in God, because you just have to look outside and see all the injustices in the world that cannot be explained without everything that Spiritism brings to us, and it makes very hard to believe in God. So I think that it's really important for us to focus on this item of reasonable faith, of understanding the reasons why we have faith, and not accepting things that we are not comfortable with. Elmo said, and it's important to repeat, better to reject 10 truths than to accept one lie. Why? Because if you accept one lie, for you to get out of it, you risk entering into that rabbit hole that it makes very difficult to get out of it. And if you don't accept the truth, it's the truth. You will come back. So let's say you are new to Spiritism, reincarnation. You're not comfortable with the theory of reincarnation. That's fine. Continue studying. If it's true, you will eventually accept, because it's the law of progress, and the truth will always prevail. If it's not, eventually, you will find other answers. So again, I think this is an item worth discussing, worth expanding, and worth challenging ourselves, because it's one of the most important aspects of Spiritism, is the reasonable faith.
Yes, I agree. I think that the foundation of the doctrine is in these very short few words over here. And using your example, reincarnation, we know reincarnation. We don't know reincarnation altogether, but we know of reincarnation based on solid reasoning and questioning and challenging this thing that you need, that you reach that conclusion. Reincarnation is one of the natural laws. It's a natural phenomenon, it's a natural process that happens to every spirit. Now we reach that. Of course, we reach that based on the knowledge the others brought to us, but we have to internalize that knowledge, we have to digest that knowledge, and have to reach that conclusion for ourselves. That's what Spiritism asks us. So, Ron said, I don't care what anybody comes and says about reincarnation, it's not going to change what I know. At the same time, we'd be open to hear what this guy is bringing. If this guy is able to bring something that shakes that knowledge, we'll listen to it. But John says that we have done so much work on this, that is so well solidified, that knowledge, that it's hard that it would be challenged ever again. But we are not completely closed and in a state of fanaticism that no, even if somebody presents something that's reasonable, I will not accept. I will not accept the reason of that individual. What we are saying, and I back Ron up on that, is that I really doubt that someone could bring something that really reasonable on the discussion of reincarnation that it will shake my understanding, my belief in it. If it happens, we have to listen. Kardec said, if you find anything in our books that science proves, and the word proves is important, that's wrong, you correct the book and we follow science. But the word proof is very, very important. It's not someone with a very eloquent discussion that may trap our understanding. No, to prove, that's different. Once it's proven, then we have to take it. Which, of course, in the discussion of reincarnation, we don't think that things will ever happen because we know of incarnation very well. We do believe in God. What's his name? Ronald Reagan. Just saw the other day, one of the person on YouTube. He's saying, I really don't get the atheism. I really don't get those individuals who are atheists. I would like to invite a group of them to my home and cook the most elaborate meal, 4 or 5 courses, and delicious stuff and load the table with wonderful food, have everybody eat and enjoy it. And then I'll ask them, do you believe there is a cook? So how you believe that you had all that meal? Where does it come from? If there is no cook. But an atheist lives in a state of fanaticism as well. The lack of belief in itself is an act of fanaticism there. It's contradicting reason there. How do you have all this meal on your table? Where does it come from? All right.
Yeah. Just on top of reincarnation, just to add something here that I think is important. The understanding and believing reincarnation does not exclude the fact that we know very little about it. So there is a lot of more to learn and to understand about the process that we are going to. So we are open to learn more and more and more about it, right? And the more information we have. So the concept is well ingrained and the understanding that it exists, but the knowledge, complete knowledge about it, I think we're very far from fully understanding it. So we have to be open to new ideas and new theories and new information, right?
Right. When people ask me, do you believe in God? I'd say, I know of God. I no longer can say that I know God. I can only say that I believe in God, but I'm very conscious to say that I know of God. I know of the existence of God. I know of some attributes of God, but I cannot say neither believe because that's in the past. Now I know of God. And I cannot say that I know God because who am I to know God? I barely know myself, but I know of God.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, finish it now.
Number 7, it is commonly stated that faith cannot be prescribed, from which many people declare that it is not their fault if they do not have faith. Of course, faith cannot be prescribed. And what is even more correct is that faith cannot be imposed. No, it cannot be prescribed, but only acquired. And no one will be refused to possess it, even among those who are most resistant. We are speaking about fundamental spiritual truths and not this or that particular belief. It is not faith that should seek out these individuals. Rather, they should seek out faith. And if they sincerely search for it, they will find it. Hence, you can be certain that those who say we would like nothing better than to believe, but we cannot, say it only with their lips and not with their heart. Because by saying it, they are plugging their ears. The proofs, meanwhile, multiply around. Why do they refuse to see them? On the part of some, it is indifference. For others, the fear of being forced to change their habits. For the majority, their pride refuses to acknowledge a higher power because they would have to bow before it. For some individuals, faith almost seems to be innate. A spark is enough to develop it. Such ease in assimilating spiritual truth is an obvious sign of previous progress. For others, on the other hand, spiritual truths are different to absorb, a no less evident sign of an unevolved nature. The former have already believed and understood. Upon being reborn, they bring with them the intuition of what they know. They have accomplished their education. The latter must learn everything. They are yet to accomplish their education, but they will do so. If not in this lifetime, then in another. We must agree that the resistance of disbelievers often has less to do with them per se than the way in which things are presented to them. Faith requires a foundation. And such foundation is the perfect understanding of that which is to be believed. In order to believe, it is not enough simply to see. It is essential above all to understand. And faith is no longer appropriate for this century. And it is precisely the dogma of blind faith that produces the greatest number of disbelievers nowadays, because it wishes to impose itself and requires the abdication of two of the most precious prerogatives of human beings, reason and free will. It is mainly against this type of faith that disbelievers rebel, and about which it is true to say that faith cannot be prescribed. By not accepting proof, it leaves a void in the mind that gives room to doubt. Rational faith, that which is based on facts and logic, leaves no darkness in its wake. One believes because one is sure, and no one can be sure unless they have understood. This is why rational faith does not collapse. For unshakable faith is the kind that can stand face to face with reason in all human epochs. Spiritism leads to such a result and is also triumphant over disbelief as long as it does not encounter systematic and self-serving opposition.
Thanks. So this is, it's commonly stated that faith cannot be prescribed. I'd like to add here true faith, sincere faith, not a faith that is out of the lips, but a faith that is integrated in the intelligence of the heart, in the intelligence of the mind, true faith. One can have faith out of social status. One can have faith, let me say differently, pseudo faith out of social status, we have faith out of fear or not being accepted in a group, fear of being different from the rest, fear that if I do not follow this kind of faith, I'm not going to get a good job or whatever thing, or may even suffer consequences for not having this or that faith. And you know that has happened in the past. We know that has caused a lot of problems with people in the past, and nowadays it still happens throughout this world. Challenge to say that perhaps everywhere in the world is still happening at a large or a smaller scale. And people may make a choice to show up a faith that comes out of the lips for many different reasons. But when calling a true, real faith, a faith that is, again, integrated in the intelligence of the heart and in the mind, cannot really be prescribed, cannot really be imposed. It can only be acquired. And to acquire something means doing some kind of work, not a gift. There are no gifts in nature. You have to conquer everything. Our heart's beating right now without us even, unless we have a heart condition, noticing it. But we know with reason that it's beating. We know with reason that it's squeezing blood out for the whole body. We don't feel it. We don't see it, but we know because with reason. And if you choose to doubt, it's still doing what it has to do. But it's not, it was not a given. In our existence prior to individualization of the spirit, we conquered that also. We have to work to conquer this automation of the heartbeat. So even that, it's not a given, it's something that we conquered. Why would that be different with faith? And again, a true faith, it can only be acquired. You know, Seek and you find, knock and you open, ask and you'll be answered. Words from Christ. But you need to do the active exercise of going and doing it. You need to go and you knock. You need to go and ask. You need to go and look for it. It's not gonna just come from you for free. So it can only be acquired. And faith also requires that. It seems like Kardec puts a long time talking about those individuals without faith. And it says there's something interesting. People are looking for proof of the existence of God, proof of the existence of the spirits. Um, and there are those who speak of truth and never look for it. Or prove it to me. I mean, I have to come and to go to you and prove to you instead of you taking the steps of coming to me or going to somewhere else or going someplace else and look for that proof. They want it to come to you. It's not going to happen. You have not done the work, right? Individual says, "Oh, prove it to me," meaning that they're not interested. Because if they weren't interested, they would go and seek the proof. So, Kazakh says in regard to proof, the proof meanwhile multiplies around them. Whether they refuse to see it, on the part of some, it is indifference. And to me, it's pretty much the most common. I just don't care. I'm too busy living my life. I'm too busy trying to make money. I'm too busy trying to pay the rent. I'm too busy educating my kids on educations of the material world. I don't have times for this nonsense. For others, the fear of being forced to change their habits, pride. For the majority, their pride refused to acknowledge a higher power because they would have to bow before it. So to me, in other words, if you are not really interested, you have your ears closed, you have your eyes shut to all the evidence, to all the proof. Again, table is full of food. You believe in a cook? It just happens by accident. It just rain on the table, right? But one very interesting thing that Kardec says over here is that dogmas may be the most important reason of the creation of the new disbelievers, those who chose not to believe, because everything that's presented to them clashes with reason. And then you have to opt between a dogma or a God that is based on dogma, or you have to follow reason and you have to make a decision on that. And for most individuals, especially these days, especially from starting in the 1700s with the new philosophers, it becomes very hard to defy our own ability to reason. So Kardec says the blind faith is no longer appropriate for this century and then 1850s, right? And of course, it perpetuates to now. It is precisely the dogma of blind faith that produces the greatest number of disbelievers nowadays, because it clashes, because it wishes to impose itself and requires the abdication of two of the most precious prerogatives of human beings, reason and free will. Who amongst us, especially we who live in a more freer world, would be willing to abnegate, to live down those two precious things, reason and free will, to follow a dogma. Most of us are not willing to do that. So when the presentation to us of a God or of divine laws that clashes with reason, we choose to stay with reason and will not believe in that God, do not believe in those laws. But for most people, I think that's what Kardec says, and I truly believe, when the existence of a God meets reason, when the concept of some divine laws meets reason, most people would be willing to take it. Most people is willing to do a little work, again, to go towards that. Don't just not wait for this to come towards you, which I think is already a great wake up when we already feel that need to look, to move towards that thing, that truth. Is already a great step up in our moral intellectual progress. And again, Christ told us, look and you find. Ask and you'll be answered. Knock and it will open. So if you take the exercise of going towards it, we will find it. And again, that will be based on reason, that will be based on questioning and doubting, and then reach a conclusion. And when you reach that, then you can say that now you have that faith that is unshakable. It is unshakable, and you can stand face to face with reason in all human epoch, which to me is one of the most important statements of Kardec. That this faith now cannot be shaked. And again, we would be open to listen to everyone who says anything about our faith, our not belief, but our understanding. And if you are able to bring the reason that contest our faith, we have to listen. And if they prove scientifically, then we have to abandon that faith and accept the one that they bring to us, which of course, we are very confident that that will not happen. All right, comments?
I think that the phrase here, unshakable faith, is the kind that can stand face to face with reason in all human epoch, which is a very important statement and the basis of the Spiritism teaching. It's important to it's what you find in the cover of in the first page of the Gospel, right? And it's a statement that we need to reflect, right? What is unshakable faith, right? We need to reach this unshakable faith in our beliefs, because then we can face any argument, right? That it's not going to shake our beliefs. Again, when you have the understanding, you are prepared to have the arguments and the discussions, right? But let's go back to the topic of reincarnation. If someone seriously want to discuss, again, seriously, right? Because there are a lot of people that say, I don't believe because I don't believe, and I don't want to discuss. So we shouldn't waste our time with those. But if someone seriously wants to discuss the concepts, wants to bring the other side of the argument, we are prepared to discuss it. We are prepared to answer the questions. We are prepared to challenge the beliefs, the other beliefs, different beliefs, and to reason for our understanding of the concept, which is what, again, what Spiritism reinforces to us when it brings the notion of reason and free will and unshakable faith, right? And even the dangers of blind faith, right? Because in the end, fanaticism is dangerous. All types of fanaticism. The religious wars killed more people than any other type of wars in the history of humanity, which is unbelievable, right? But you see what fanaticism and blind faith can bring to us, and still nowadays we have religions that kill in the name of God, which is an absurd if you use reason and if you use the openness of an understanding, right? So again, let's try to understand what's happening around us in the world with the calmness and the understanding / faith that the law is of progress, that everything happens for a reason, that everything that we're going through has a reason of moving humanity forward, even if it sometimes looks like we're moving backwards, we are actually moving forward. And the spirits that are resisting the progress are the ones that are going to have to struggle, because they will be left behind. As I always say, you remember those that fought for the end of slavery. You don't remember the names of those that fought for slavery to continue to exist. So progress gives those that achieve progress their recognition, and those that fight against progress will be left on the side of the road of progress.
With those who kill and oppress us in the name of God is an absurd, but I think even worse, more serious absurd is those who oppress us and kill in the name of Jesus. Because Jesus is so much closer to us. The Gospels are already, the readings are over there. It's completely an absurd someone who would act in any kind of violence and any kind of oppression and justifies it in Christianity. It's just absolutely reasonably impossible, and only blindness could lead to this. And also leads this topic to something important that I had to deal with that for a long time before I was able to accept it, and then from accept to kind of agree with, is the topic of the spreading of Spiritism. Once we starting to know Spiritism, one thing that comes to my mind, everybody needs to know of this. Everybody. If the world takes this new doctrine, it is a very new doctrine, the world is going to be a much better place. Yes, it will. Because everybody will practice the teachings of Christ, and the world will be a much better place to live, without any doubt. And you can imagine that the higher spheres, the higher level of existence for high spirits, they do practice what the doctrine suggests us to practice. But the idea that you need to go out there and be on the airways and be on the thing and stuff this thing into people's minds, at one point to me was that should be what every spiritist should be doing, and to go to understand that it would be futile. You'd perhaps it cause more harm than good, because you cannot impose, we cannot prescribe this faith to anyone. Again, Christ tells us, take the proactive step. You go and you look. You go and you look and you knock. Then people have the interest. And I have to deal with this for a long time. I would just find my belief that spiritualists are some kind of elitists that they wanted to keep this precious treasure for themselves. There is what wasn't it what Jesus did? He went out and preached on the squares, on the streets, and invited everyone to come. Wasn't it what he told Paul of Tarsus to do? And that's what Paul did, going throughout the Roman Empire, opening little churches here and there. And churches are just a gathering of people with a common objective. So why would spiritualism be different? Well, spiritualism is not different. Spiritism is doing exactly what Jesus did, what he said Paul to do it, and is telling the Spirit of Truth, telling us to do as well. Be open, be available, but do not oppose, do not impose, do not force anyone, because it just doesn't work. It took me a long time to come to this realization. I thought the spirituals would have to kind of, unfortunately, I believe that when they compete with the other religions, compete with the other social groups, compete to gather as many people as possible, because that would make a better world. Yeah, I think it will make a better world, but it's not going to be by position. It's not going to be by bombarding those who are not interested. And when they are interested, they will look, they will find.
I had a little trouble with this last phrase. Leads to such a result. Spiritism leads to such a result, and it also triumphs over this belief, as long as it does not encounter systematic and self-serving opposition. I thought something was wrong here on translation. So I went to the Portuguese version and even to the French version, and it's exactly the same. So I was reflecting on it, right? So systematic and self-serving opposition is what is the difficulties that Spiritism will face in terms of spreading, right? Because when you are facing this organized antagonism, which is Spiritism faces from, especially in Brazil, especially from the evangelical church. It's a challenge, right? So it made me reflect a little bit on that phrase, and I think it's an interesting discussion, also point of discussion.
Yeah, it is when Christ said, I have not come to bring the peace, I've come to bring the sword and the fire. I think that's what he's talking about. In order to stay strong with that belief, with that certainty, with that knowledge, we're going to have to face all those systematic encounters that are trying to negate it, try to lead us to go to a different current, because unfortunately it's asked us to not to be just a plain follower, just follow everything, but have that foundation knowledge that allow us to swim against the current if the current is leads to something that is contrary to reasoning. And it's much easier to be a follower. It's much easier, especially when those that are leading are promising utopias. You know, you do this and you be saved by that. We find in our leadership meetings from time to time someone who asks, "So what are the angels? What is the what is the heaven that was promised me? We've seen that very often. Because it's lack of reasoning, because it's with a faith, perhaps being a very good person, perhaps someone who done all the good things, but you still have that blindness that does not allow them to see, even upon discarnation, that the truth is a little bit different. That so-called heaven is not that cloud, that the ones that will help and to assist you are not little angels with wings and a halo over their heads. And we see that from time to time. So Christ says some things that really challenged us. I say, well, he was probably drunk when he said that. And I come to bring the sword and say, what do you mean? How, you really have to think of those statements from Christ. And that's what he means. In order to conquer this knowledge, you want to conquer the foundation that leads you to truly follow Jesus, you're going to have to face a lot of swords, you have to free yourself from a lot of atavism and to be able to stand strong with faith against very strong opposition. And sometimes even inside our own home.
I'll go further, even inside of yourself, right?
Oh,
With
yeah.
your own, yeah. So it's a challenge.
Okay, we move on.
Okay. Number 8, parable of the withered fig tree. When they left Bethany, he was hungry, and seeing a fig tree somewhere off, he went to see if he can find something on it. And having come to it, he only found leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then Jesus said to the fig tree, "May no one eat any more fruit from you," which his disciples heard. And on the following day, as they passed by the fig tree, they saw that it had become withered down to its roots. And remembering Jesus' words, Peter said to him, "Master, look how the fig tree that you cursed has become withered." Jesus answered him, saying, "Have faith in God. Verily I say to you that whoever says to that mountain, 'Be uprooted and cast yourself into the sea,' without any doubt in his heart, but firmly believing that what he has said will happen, will see it actually happen." Mark. Continue.
No, thank you. Short, but very powerful and
Yeah.
meaningful parable. Again, the words and the teachings of Christ come in some really weird ways, right? Some things that is someone who's honestly things a very literal way will say, Jesus is a mean dude. Oh man, why do you have to kill a health three that could perhaps in the future give a lot of figs, but Jesus with his word just killed it. It doesn't make sense. How can you believe in like a guy like that? But again, parables, the whole teachings of Christ is a compendium of moral teachings. If you think things in a very literal way, we will get lost. You're not gonna get the message. The fig in itself is not chosen by chance. Right, the fig is a very important symbol in the Jewish tradition, that they have the sacred fruits, right? It's the wheat, the barley, the pomegranates, the oil, the date, the grapes, and the fig. Those are sacred fruits. And a fig tree symbolizes a community, because it symbolizes a group. But of course, a community is made of individuals. So individual symbolizes that group as well. So when Jesus is using this parable of the fig tree, he's talking about the community, a group, but also the individual, right? And he's going to look for fruit and begin with at some way off, at a certain distance. Another important meaning. We see something beautiful for distance. So Jesus saw the fig tree full of leaves and looked healthy and beautiful at a distance and approached it. There's a meaning there for us, that what we see at a distance that looks very tempting, that looks very good, that looks very healthy, very nice, may not necessarily be it. That you need to take a closer approach to it, perhaps careful, closer approach to it, right? Because things may not necessarily be what they present to be. And I think for nowadays, we just talk about it. It's extremely important that you have this reasoning ability to go beyond the appearances that you have at a distance. The belief that if I do good here, once this physical body stop working, then I'll be among the angels. It's a nice, very nice idea. That I'm not gonna have to do anything more for the rest of my existence and just having fun in paradise. I don't know what fun can you have in paradise. It's a nice idea, but I need to go a little bit deep in it. I need to get a closer look at it. So Jesus see the fig tree at a distance, some way off, and he moves towards that. There's an invitation to us. Why does it look good? Approach it. Approach it, care, see what it has to offer, and find a fig tree full of leaves. Looks great. What does it mean? It means two things. One, that it's not completely naked, empty. It has something. It has something of value, something of good. It has the leaves. Leaves makes it look good. So if you look at the symbol of a community, of a group, the Jewish community, the Catholic community, the Spiritist community, the Republicans, the Democrats, whatever, it looks good from a distance to our eyes, because again, we see the world with the lenses of our eyes. The promises that these politics make and the promises that the other politics make, and them look very good at a distance. But you have to have the reason and have the good intention to move closer, to approach that, to investigate a little further using reasoning, to conclude that yes, indeed, it's good, that yes, indeed, it's of value, or if it's have nothing more to offer than its good look at a distance. And perhaps even when it got closer, it's not good at all, but it requires an investigation. So Jesus look at it, he sees the fig tree some way off. And then he approaches it and see that it's bare, not offering fruit. And then he kind of curses it. And the next day it's dry. And Peter, of course, gets impressed like everyone would, and question Jesus. And Jesus brings the lessons that what is your faith? Because if you do have that faith, things will happen. Now again, if any one of you expect to go look at a mountain and see jumps in the ocean, you will spend a long time there staring at that mountain, and I don't think it will jump at the ocean. But if you change that interpretation to the mountains, the resistance, the obstacles in our own existence that you have to conquer, that you have to eliminate, to dump them all in the oceans of non-existence any longer, because if you throw the mountain in the ocean, the mountain will disappear. And those mountains are exactly our pride, our selfishness, our laziness, and so forth and so on. With faith, walking towards it, knocking, asking, working on it, with faith, they will indeed disappear. But it does require that faith. And the faith that we just spoke before, that takes work, not a free ride. It doesn't come to you, you need to go to it. And Jesus was hungry. They just left Bethany, which is a big city. So, gonna eat something over there? What does that mean Jesus was hungry? That's why he looks at a fig tree that has fruits to offer. If you put that fig tree in a community, is Jesus hungry for ears, for followers? Is Jesus hungry for those who are willing to follow his steps? And when he looked at communities and he sees a lot of good looking, a lot of them full of intentions, carrying a crucifix in the chest and a Bible under their arms, and going to the temples and doing all the rituals and sitting and standing and memorizing each single word of the gospel. And I'm not talking about a specific group, I'm talking about anyone who labels themselves as Christians of any denomination whatsoever. Are we just trees full of health, good looking leaves, but with no fruits, that meaning that you have nothing to offer? Because a fig tree can barely offer any shade even. It's not something that is used for shading even, but looks good, especially from a distance. But getting closer, does it have what is else to offer to satiate our hunger for knowledge, our hunger for a smile, for a word of comfort, of understanding? What fruit does this tree has to give us? Just a very good looking tree out there that knows every single word of the gospel, who carries a Bible under their arms and a crucifix in their chest, and from a distance, yeah, it looks great. But when you approach, what is the fruit that it has to offer? I think that is the meaning of this parable to us. Okay, any comments?
Okay.
Okay, number 9.
The withered fig tree symbolizes persons who have only the appearances of goodness, but who in reality produce nothing that is worthwhile. Witters who are more flashy than substantial, whose words display the varnish of superficiality. They please the ears, but upon close examination, nothing substantial for the soul is found in them. After hearing them, one asks what benefit was derived from listening to them. It is also the symbol of all persons who have the means to be useful, but are not. All the utopias, all the empty theories, and all the doctrines that lack a solid foundation. What is most often lacking is true faith, productive faith, faith that stirs the fibers of the soul. In other words, the faith that moves mountains. There are trees that have leaves but no fruit. That is why Jesus condemns them to barrenness. For a day will come in which they will become withered down to their roots, which means that all the theories, all the doctrines that have not produced any good for humankind will fall into nothingness, that all deliberately useless human beings, for lack of having put into practice the resources they had in them, will be treated like the withered fig tree.
Thanks. Well, I think the parable don't have much to add. Someone has, of course, please share with us. But the last statement, for the day will come, that they will become withered down to the roots, which means that all the theories, all the doctrines that have not produced any good for mankind will fall into nothingness. That all deliberately useless human beings for lack of having put into practice the resources they had in them will be treated like the withered fig tree. I think Kardec's talking about the law of progress. That more and more and more and more, we are freeing ourselves from the atavism of the shackles of laziness. That more and more we are questioning things, and not only questioning, now taking a step forward and looking for answers. And again, I say that 10 times already, but I'll say again, if you look, you'll find, especially nowadays, that means of research is so amplified, is so available to anyone, that in reality, we cannot really say that I looked, but I did not find. It's gonna be hard to believe. And yes, I'm talking more of a more developed world. There might be places out there that still lack the means. Although I know that today, I think as Ron just told us, there's a lot of more people with cell phones and without a toilet in their homes in the world. So means of communications are more abundant even than basic infrastructures, even for good health. That there is more individuals have access to cell phones than to a toilet, a flashing toilet. And that's the truth in our world today. So more and more the means of finding what we are looking for is more and more available to us. And eventually we will slowly shaking off the fears, the atavism, the certainty that I am allowed to question some dogmas, to look for different paths, because that path in a conscious or even subconscious or even philosophical way it's not serving me anymore. Even if social status is good, but I have all this material means as well, but I'm not happy. It's not satisfying me anymore. I need something else here. Perhaps that's what justifies the incredible high number of suicides in very well materially speaking wealth individuals and countries, though. Why is that happening? If not that unhappiness, that depression, that money, that power, that social status cannot bring to one individual, if it's not something that is lacking, that is beyond material, that is beyond money. And we are breaking more and more the shackles that lead us to not look for those things and find those things. And I think for the law of progress will slowly eliminate those barriers. And more important, we can say, oh, I didn't look because I was trapped. No, you're not trapped, you're just lazy. The intellectual laziness, the intention or the goodwill to really stand up and knock, the go and ask. And we become less lazy. And when we become less lazy, we see that there's not that many barriers stopping us anymore. And slowly, the truth will prevail, and it's basis a law of progress. And that's what I think Deck's talking about here. Okay.
Number 10.
Just a comment, John. Unfortunately, I don't see a watch in front of me here, so just let me know the time, please.
Sure. Yeah, we have time to finish this number 10.
Perfect. Thanks.
Number 10. Mediums are the interpreters of spirits, supplying the physical organs that they lack to transmit their teaching to us. This is the reason mediums have been endowed with faculties to this effect. In these times of social renewal, they have a particular mission. They are the trees that must provide spiritual nourishment to their brothers and sisters. They are multiplying in number in order for this nourishment to be abundant. They are found everywhere, in all countries, among all social classes, among the rich and the poor, the great and the small, so that none are disinherited, and to prove to humankind that all are called. However, if they divert from his providential purpose, the priceless faculty that was conceded to them, if they make it serve pointless or harmful matters, if they put it in the service of worldly interest, and if instead of healthy fruit, they bear unhealthy fruit, if they refuse to render it useful to others, if they derive from it no benefit for improving themselves, they are like the barren fig tree. God will take it away, a gift that has become useless in their hands, the seed that they have not been able to bring to fruition, and God will let them become the prey of evil spirits.
Thank you. Now, Kardec diverts the topic of faith into a subgroup of individuals or a subgroup of attributes or things that are available to us with mediumship. One may not believe in God. We had, and I admire that guy very much, who was long time the beginning, the very beginning of our spiritualist group in New York, a guy who did not believe in God. I really admire that guy. He could not reason the existence of God at all. I believed in Jesus, believed in the teachings of Jesus, believed in mediumship, because everything made a lot of sense to him. It was reasonable to him. So what I'm saying is that one individual may be an atheist and believe and understand and accept mediumship, and believe and accept and understand that their life does not end with the death of the physical body. And if it continues in another realm of existence, why it would not be possible the interaction, the communication of the spirits between those two planes of existence? Why it would be such a solid barrier between the two realms of existence that would make it impossible for the communication between us with the flesh and us without the flesh? And Kardec puts this topic here in the topic of faith that move mountains in believing, but in belief based on understanding again. That if someone says to you, I don't believe in mediumship, I don't believe at all that spirits can communicate with the living being. And then one would ask, what have you studied on this topic? What have you read on this topic? Oh, nothing, I don't care for it. How meaningful is that belief? in a sense, I would say, what do you care if this guy believes or not, if the belief is just based on nothingness? I never read it, I don't want to read. I never saw it and I don't want to see it. I don't believe, period. And my was, okay, period. There's nothing else that I can do or say to this individual, right? And unfortunately, there are those who believe in mediums in a sense that whatever comes from the medium, you must follow, you must do it. Again, fanaticism, likely to lead to not good outcomes. Because that brings the reason to us here, that the mediums are interpreters of spirits. That they have a, they have a component in that physical structure that allows them to more ostensibly interact with the spiritual world, to receive the thoughts of spirits without a physical body. The same way that everyone is receiving right now my thoughts, but my thoughts are now addressed in words. My thoughts are now being vocalized and being transmitted to you to the means of transmission. But in reality, what you're receiving are my thoughts. Why would it not be possible to receive the thoughts of spirits through a different medium? Right now it's air, and is there airway, the internet, but could it happen from a different medium? It could, right? And it does. Kardec puts over here that we need to have the faith in mediumship and in mediums, but with the reason also that mediums come in with this faculty to do something good, to bring something of positive to us, that they are supposed to be a fig tree that produces figs. They're not supposed to be a fig tree filled with beautiful, luscious leaves, but have nothing to offer. That is not the objective. That's not what higher order spirits wants from a medium. And you're not a medium who is not willing to do that. But the faculty is there. And the individual medium may have the free will and the choice to transmit thoughts from all kinds of spirit in the spiritual world. If you choose to receive messages from higher or spirit, to deliver messages to educate us, you are a productive victory. If you choose to receive messages of spirits who want to lead you to teachings that opposes the teachings of Christ, then you are a tree that is basically producing poisonous fruit to us. Or you may just be a fig tree that is full of leaves, but will just carry nothingness, or the message they receive completely empty. Does us no good. And by definition, to not do good equals to do bad. So you have to have that reasonable faith in mediumship and in mediums. But again, you have to take that closer look, not just look at a distance, and don't look how pretty it looks. Not just pretty the words that come from that message are, but the meaning of that. What does it have to offer to humankind? Then we then we are making use of a productive fig tree, and those mediums are indeed a product fig tree. And Kardec's point makes sure to point out that is available to everyone, everywhere, throughout this existence. Otherwise, God would not be fair and have treating individuals in a different way. So mediumship is spread all over the place. Perhaps there are mediums over there. They even know that they have mediums, and I bring those messages, not even know that this message are not really coming from them, are being inspired and being given to us through this kind of spirits. And again, when you have that faculty, we have been prepared for it. You have accepted that mission, you could say. That's at smallest possible level of a mission. But if you don't do it, there will be consequences. And I think that's what I have to say here.
Thanks, Almo. Time is up.
Oh, good.
Okay, so next Sunday, we'll be studying the Medium's book. And then for year end, we'll stop our activities from Friday, December 23rd, restarting on January the 3rd, which is a Tuesday, right? With the Spiritism meeting. So we'll be closed for 2 Sundays, 1 Thursday, 1 Tuesday, 1 Thursday, and 2 Mondays. And then we will restart again on Monday the 8th with the study of the book Liberation. Okay.
Okay.
Carol.
Yes, John, hi. Thank you, John. Thank you, Elmo. Thank you, Sarita, for reading, and everyone for participating. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we are grateful and thankful for the opportunity to be together today as brothers and sisters for our studies, the Gospel according to Spiritism, Chapter 19, Faith Moves Mountains. Through an abiding foundation of reason, free will, and deeper studies, we can find faith and truth. Science and our heart of hearts, can play vital roles as well. It takes our applied endeavoring as we can each and every day. We need to be proactive, not passive. Unshakable faith will prepare us for challenges to our beliefs. We can remain calm and open to challenges and difficulties arising in the outer world, throughout the cycles of life and throughout our incarnation process. We are grateful to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the mentors of SGNY, for helping us, for inspiring us, and for providing us the courage and faith to continue in our studies, to continue with our prayers, to continue with our endeavoring to be of service in charitable and unselfish ways. We are grateful to all who are participating, all who are here, all who are sharing the messages, the studies, and continuing to be of goodwill, of strong faith, and of courage. For this, we are truly grateful. May we continue throughout the week with our prayers, with our studies and mindfulness, knowing that help is always available as we ask and as we believe and as we apply what we receive. We are grateful for all the endeavoring and may we continue to be blessed and receive the guidance each day. As we close now, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we go forth to family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we continue with our prayers for peace throughout the world, for those who are suffering, the spirits who are in need in the physical world as well as the spiritual world. And we ask for the prayers for SGNY and all Spiritist centers. May the counselors, may the directors, may the mediums, may the helpers, may the workers be blessed, their family members as well. May we continue the work and may we continue with the depth of our studies each day. We close now and humbly ask to go forth in safety and protection, receiving the love, light, and peace of Christ within us. We close and remind ourselves to be beacons of light in this beautiful light-filled season of Christ, the protector, the bringer of light, and the bringer of goodwill. We close and ask to go forth in peace. So be it.